1 Samuel chapter 20, where we're going to be. And really, we would kind of have to go back into 19. I don't know that we're going to have time to do all of that, because that's a lot of reading. Maybe I can summarize. All right, Ron, are we rolling up there?
Yep, all set.
All right, sounds good. All right, our introduction is going to be talking about friendships. Good friends can be hard to come by. Come up with 5 reasons good friends are hard to find. Well, just a bunch of them. Yeah, it says 5. They have to be trustworthy, and not everybody is. Right? Some people can't be trusted. They share things they shouldn't share. Yeah. Okay? You think of some other reasons why good friends, are hard to come by. Okay? Yeah, you have. Yeah, yep. Yeah, lives go in different directions as people get married and have children, and maybe their focus gets focused onto their families and not so much on their friendships. Yeah, that's a good reason. Okay, they have different beliefs. Can be, I would say, religion is part of it, but maybe more like philosophy of life. You sound like you're thinking of somebody in particular. Okay, any other reasons why friends are hard to come by? Well, what does it take for someone to become a good friend? Okay, they'll help you out no matter what. Yeah, they have your back. Yeah, they've got your back. Um, yeah, and not everyone's willing to do that. That's why it's hard to have. Um, yeah, I think we're definitely going in the right direction here. What does it take to be very good friends with somebody? Maybe it's so obvious that we're missing it. Certainly, common interests. You don't have to have everything in common, but you have to have at least a couple of things in common, right? I have friends that we both used to brew beer. Neither one of us brew beer anymore, but that's how our friendship started. And we disagree on a lot of things. We disagree politically. We disagree on religion. We disagree on life philosophy. We disagree on a lot of stuff. But we know that there's an area that we can, there's some things that we do have common interest. And we talk about those things and we stick to those things. And everything is just fine. Okay, so you need at least some common interest. Yep, I agree. There's one ingredient you guys are missing to make a good friendship happen. It takes time. Time, your most valuable possession. Yeah. Your most valuable possession. And that's, I think, why it's really hard to keep and retain and to maintain good friends. Is because we have a limited amount of time. And that's what it takes. You have to spend time with each other. You have to spend time talking. You have to spend time, again, maybe doing that common interest together, whatever that thing might be. But Steve was getting at it when he said that someone will drop everything for you. What does that take? Time, right? It's I'm going to give up my time for your benefit, right? And I know, and like Steve said, I know they'll do it back for me. It's reciprocal. I will give time to you when you need help, my help. And I know, I hope I don't need it, but when I do need it, if I do need it, I know that I could call you up and you would be there. You would help me out, right? That's a really good friend. We have like more acquaintance friends, and then we have deeper friends. Let's look at that second question. Now come up with 5 characteristics of a good friend. Trustworthy. Again, that's a big one, isn't it? Caring. Yeah. Honest. Yeah. That's a hard one, isn't it? Sometimes we want our friends to just agree with us. And sometimes, but a really good friend, right, will be honest with you and poke you when you need to be poked, even though he or she may know that you're not going to appreciate it at the moment. But later on, something needed to be said. You were going down a bad path, and they said, let's tap the brakes here. They told the truth, right? You think about maybe somebody who's got a drinking problem or a drug problem or is thinking about leaving his wife or his husband. Let's talk about this. You've got to. We need to talk. And a lot of times we don't want people to be too honest with us because we don't always like the truth. But yeah, along the lines of what Steve was talking about, I think sacrificial, right? Being willing to sacrifice for the friendship. I would say flexible, right? That you can have some give and take with them. They don't always insist on having things their way. That kind of goes to what Ron said about caring, right? So the friendship isn't a selfish friendship, like it's all about me, what I need. And then if Steve and I are friends, and I give and I give and I give and I give, and now I've got an issue and I ask Steve for some help. I'm busy. Right? That there's that's caring, right? It's all of that stuff. Okay, so friendships, really good friendships, are not that common. I don't know. What would you say? How many on average does someone in your circles have? How many really good friends? Okay, Carol said she's got 2 and Steve's got 20. I don't know, Steve, how you have the time for that kind of. You invite them all over at the same time. If all of your friends are friends with each other, that maybe would work. Yeah. Um, anyone else thoughts on that? Friendships are interesting, aren't they? My closest friendships go back to college. I don't actually have any high school friends that I'm still real chummy with at all. Um, maybe I would be if I was on Facebook or something, but I'm not. So, but I see many of my college friends on a regular basis and make an effort to do that. It's important to do that. It helps that a lot of my friends are all pastors. So I occasionally see them at I was at pastors conference this week, and three of my classmates are actually in my conference, our conference, and so I got to sit next to one of my good buddies, classmate of mine, that we really get along. We have coffee 3, 4, 5 times a year, something like that. And I'll call him up and say, "Hey, Mark, you want to go get coffee?" He's like, "Yeah, sure. Where?" And we go get coffee, and we really I only give myself like 2 hours or something, and that's never enough. I'm at that coffee shop for 3 or 4 hours. Not make them pay for that bottomless cup. uh, we just really enjoy talking to each other. I see other friends of mine on a pretty regular basis, keep in contact with them. Some are not so regular, but as soon as I see them, it's like we never left off. It just picks right up. Sam's got some friends from college too that have become my friends over the years. And then I think about my parents and their friends who also became my friends over the years growing up. And watching my parents lose a lot of their friends has been really hard as they get older. There's been a number of funerals of lifelong close friends. Really, it's pretty hard, pretty tough. So friendships are blessings from God. We're going to talk about a special friendship that you may not really know a whole lot about, the friendship that took place between David and a young man by the name of Jonathan. Jonathan is one of Saul's sons. And I think what I'm going to do, because I think it's important that we read chapter 19. We were supposed to read chapter 19 last week, but we didn't. So I'm going to read chapter 19 to you, and then I'm going to have you read chapter 20, and then we'll talk about it. So you can follow along if you want. Saul told his son Jonathan and all the attendants to kill David. Okay, so Saul, remember, is kind of gone off the deep end here. He has extreme amounts of jealousy over David because David is getting all of the praise for fighting off the Philistines and being a mighty warrior, and everything David does is successful. The Lord is blessing David, and Saul is the opposite. The Lord is punishing Saul. So everything he does is going down, bad, and everything David does is going up. So Saul eventually gets so fed up with David, even though David's done nothing to Saul. David has done nothing but serve Saul well, faithfully. Saul told his son Jonathan and all the attendants to kill David, but Jonathan was very fond of David and warned him, "My father Saul is looking for a chance to kill you. Be on your guard tomorrow morning. Go into hiding and stay there. I will go out and stand with my father in the field where you are. I will speak to him about you and will tell you what I find out." Jonathan spoke well of David to Saul his father and said to him, "Let not the king do wrong to his servant David. He has not wronged you, and what he has done has benefited you greatly. He took his life in his hands when he killed the Philistine." That's talking about Goliath. The Lord won a great victory for all of Israel, and you saw it and were glad. Why then would you do wrong to an innocent man like David by killing him for no reason?" Saul listened to Jonathan and took this oath: "As surely as the Lord lives, David will not be put to death." So Jonathan called David and told him the whole conversation. He brought him to Saul, and David was with Saul as before. Remember, David was like his armor bearer, as well as the guy he would call when he had like a foul mood and a foul spirit that came on him. And David would play music to him on his harp, and it would make him feel better. Once more, war broke out, and David went out and fought the Philistines. He struck them with such force that they fled before him. But an evil spirit from the Lord came upon Saul as he was sitting in his house with his spear in his hand. While David was playing the harp, Saul tried to pin him to the wall with his spear. But David eluded him as Saul drove the spear into the wall. That night David made good his escape. So Saul promised Jonathan, his son, no, I won't kill David, and then, almost immediately turned around and went back on his word. It's because Saul is going nuts, right? So Saul is losing his mind. I think we're seeing some sort of mental disease take over Saul. Saul sent men to David's house to watch it and to kill him in the morning. But Michal, David's wife, warned him, "If you don't run for your life tonight, tomorrow you'll be killed." So Michal let David down through a window, and he fled and escaped. Then Michal took an idol and laid it on the bed, covering it with a garment, and put some goat's hair at his head. Well, an interesting thing, right? I mean, right? So what do Michal and David have an idol in the house for in the first place, right? So it's just strange. And now she's playing the old we'll dress them up like a mannequin in the bed trick, and apparently it works. When Saul sent men to capture David, Michal said, "He is ill." Then Saul sent men back to see David and told him, "Bring him up to me in his bed so that I may kill him." But when the men entered, there was the idol in the bed, and at the head was some goat's hair. Saul said to Michal, "Why did you deceive me like this and send my enemy away so that he escaped?" Now, David is not his enemy. And look, he's calling him my enemy. David is on his side. They're both, David is the current and on the way out king, and Saul is the on the way out king, and David is the up and coming king. Been anointed, but he's not. The inauguration hasn't happened yet. We'll put it in current event terms. When David fled and made his escape, he went to Samuel at Ramah and told him all that Saul had done to him. And he and Samuel went to Naioth and stayed there. Word came to Saul, "David is in Naioth at Ramah." So he sent men to capture him. But when they saw a group of prophets prophesying, with Samuel standing there as their leader, the Spirit of God came upon Saul's men, and they also prophesied. Now, what is this all about? I don't know. I really don't. What kind of prophesying was Saul doing? Now, Saul is an unbeliever. And I assume that his men that are with him are also unbelievers. I don't know that for sure. But for sure, Saul is an unbeliever. And yet the Lord is using him to prophesy. So, is this like what kind of prophesying? Is this like speaking in tongues? Something like that? Maybe it was. Okay? There's only one. There's one Samuel and one Saul. Yeah, I know. They both start with S. It kind of gets confusing, right? All right. So they're prophesying. I don't think we need to read the rest of that, okay? But we'll just stop there. What I'm going to have you do is read chapter 20 on your own. I know it's probably going to take about 5 minutes or something like that. And then when you're done, when you get finished, we all read at different paces. Start looking at the questions. question is, list the examples of Jonathan being a good friend to David in verses 1 to 11. He's looking around. That's okay. We're thinking about them. We're thinking about them. Sure. But he was willing to stand up to Saul, his dad, and defend David. Saul, Dad, what are you doing? Um, uh, David hasn't done anything wrong, and you're going to kill him. This isn't right. What do you think? Talking like that to Saul, what's going to be the likely result of that? Yeah. So Saul's going to get angry now, not just with David, but now with Jonathan, because Jonathan's defending this man who Saul believes is his enemy. Of course, he already said that he's not his enemy. He's actually been a very good servant to him, a very good friend to him, has helped him in many, many ways, militarily and personally too. So he goes to bat for his friend, even though it might put him in hot water. Right? So we said before that one of the traits of a good friend is that they're sacrificial. They're willing to sacrifice what's good for them for what's good for you. All right. Jonathan makes a covenant with David at the end of the chapter to ensure that David and his family never cut off kindness to his family when he is king. What lessons does this teach you and me about friendship? Right? That they knew they had each other's backs. We said that before, that's a mark of a good friend. Somebody that you know that you can depend on, that a lot of other people and things might fall apart and leave you and abandon you, but there's this person that you know will absolutely, walk over fiery coals to help you because you're that close. How about that whole scheme that they come up with the arrows, right? Kind of cloak and dagger stuff, right? Okay, David, your life is in danger, so we'll come up with this code, so to speak, to let you know that you're in danger. And then once the servant boy left, then David could come out and the two of them would talk. But after this, David can't be seen with Jonathan. It's too dangerous, too risky. David is in a really rough spot. I don't know about you. I've never had someone try and kill me. Especially someone who's as powerful as the king, with as many resources as the king. David needs help, and God provides him the help that he needs in the person of Jonathan. Friendships are gifts from God. God knows that you are going to go through tough stuff in life. But he wants you to know that you don't have to go through it alone. And so he gives you friends. And those of you who are married, hopefully, that is the best friend is the one that you marry. And that you know that they are going to be there to stand by you and to help you when things get hard. Can you think of a friend that God put in your life that got you through a hard time? God knew you needed help. God knew you were struggling. God knew that you weren't going to get through this alone. So He gave you someone as a gift to you that would hold you up and support you. Friends are really valuable assets. They're worth the time that it takes to foster them. They're worth the time that it takes to encourage them. To strengthen them, right? So I said that's the most valuable thing that you have is your time. And so time spent with friends, ultimately God uses that to be a blessing for you later on in life. Anyone have any questions about this chapter? Some weird stuff going on, huh? There was one more thing I was going to comment on. Saul's anger flared up at Jonathan, and he said to him, "You son of a perverse and rebellious woman." I gotta steal that one from Saul. That Saul knows how to curse. Where is it again? You son of a perverse and rebellious woman, don't I know that you have sided with the son of Jesse to your own shame and to the shame of the mother who bore you? So Saul is really going nuts, right? I mean, he is angry at everyone. He's afraid of everyone. He's afraid of his own family. He thinks his own. I've got to believe that Saul has slipped into some sort of mental handicap here, where he is. I don't know what the clinical term for it, his diagnosis, but I think the term that I would use, not as a professional, would be he's off his rocker, right? He's pretty fruity and pretty nutty here. All right, any other questions? Now remember that one. You son of a perverse and wicked woman. Now your wife might very well punch you in the arm. She may not appreciate it. She must not have been there. Yeah, we don't know where Saul's wife was. She wasn't there to hear him say that. Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, what a blessing you gave to David in the friendship of Jonathan. And Lord, you've also similarly blessed us with friends, close friends that are there when we need them to be. And you've also given us friends that we can be friends to them. And we can be sacrificial for them. Help us to be the kind of friend to others that we want them to be to us. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.